NotesChris, our 2-speed here, and we're coming to you live from the park to finally reveal the exact setup I used for the CDT when I was hammock camping. So how we're going to do this video is I'm going to get to be a small window and I'm going to show you some pictures of each piece of gear and maybe some other pictures of the CDT of the hammock setups. So to start my hammock setup, we're going to start with the number one thing you have to have, which is a hammock. For the CDT, I chose to use the Dutchware half zipped. I used it on the PCT the whole way. I used the 1.0 Hexon version and it worked great. For the CDT, I decided to try the 0.7 cloud material in the Dutchware half zip. It worked pretty well. I started to get a little suspicious of the fabric about 1,000 miles in, and that's when I emailed Dutchware and asked them about it, and they wound up setting me up with the 1.3 Hexon. I used that one for the whole CDT and it worked great. I've still been using it today. The things I really like about the half zip is the weight. It's pretty light. It has the zipper on one side instead of both sides, so you just got to make sure you set it up where you need to. Super easy setup. It has continuous loops on each end, and you can set the hammock up with the zipper on the side you want it on. And also, to go with that hammock, of course, there's going to be questions about the suspension I use. For the CDT, I tried a new Dyneema strap suspension and it worked really great. It was 1-inch Dyneema straps. They were from Hammock Tech, and I will post a link to the video of my review of the Dutchware half zip hammock. I'll post a link to the video where I talk about the suspension I use, which is the Dyneema straps and then toggles, which I just use a Marlin spike hitch with. And I will also post a link to my review on the 0.71 cloud hammock and what I thought about it. And now we're going to go to the top quilt. For the CDT, I decided to go with the Hammock Gear Burrow Premium 950 top quilt. I got it made just for the CDT. I used that quilt the entire CDT. I really liked that quilt. It was a little heavier than other quilts that were 20 degrees, but when I got it, I had to add a little bit extra down for it. But my overall experience with that top quilt was really great. I had maybe 1 or 2 nights that I was a little bit colder than I expected, but the majority of the time I was too warm and I had to vent my underquilt or vent my top quilt. And I really liked that quilt. I wasn't 100% satisfied with it, but I was able to sell it and get top dollar on the resale market. So if you're looking for a quilt, a top quilt, I would recommend going to Hammock Gear, looking at their premium series. All the quilts I've gotten from them have been their premium and not the economy, but I've heard really good things about the economy version. Next, we're going to go under the hammock, and under the hammock is going to be the underquilt, and the underquilt I use is also from Hammock Gear. It's the 3/4 Phoenix. It's 950, and the short underquilt worked really great for me. I used it on the entire PCT, worked really good. I used it on the entire CDT, it worked great. I used a 950 down, it was really warm, and with the 3/4 underquilt, I was able to use my jacket under my shoulders, and under my feet I was able to use the pad for my backpack. Here's my backpack, and here's the pad that I use. We'll talk about that later. But that's the underquilt I use, 3/4 premium from Hammock Gear. I will post a link to my review video of that quilt down below, and you can take a look at that if you want more information. And then after all that, also in the hammock, I used a cheap blow-up pillow. I really like it behind my neck. It keeps my neck from hurting. And the first blow-up pillow I got was from Amazon for like 20 bucks. It lasted a really long time. I had it failed during the CDT, and I got another one just from an outdoor store. And basically any kind of little blow-up pillow you want to carry, I think they weigh 3 or 4 ounces, but in my opinion, they're worth every single ounce. And when you buy one, you want to avoid the ones with the fill valve in the middle, because if it's in the middle, it usually will poke you in the back of the neck when you're in the hammock, because I normally don't use them all the way inflated. And wrapping all this up, the tarp that I used on the CDT and all the other trails I've thru hiked and pretty much all the long distance hiking I've done with the hammock is the Hammock Gear standard tarp with doors. This is a great tarp. It's really light. If you can set it up right, it provides great coverage. I had no issues with this tarp. I have been through, I think, 3 of these same tarps so far, just with age. They worked really great. Hammock Gear was able to actually provide me a replacement one for the one that was worn out on this hike. Did a really good job. This tarp has doors, so it gives you a little bit extra protection on the end to keep rain from coming in. And with this tarp, I use Zingit guy lines, and I use Z-Pack's carbon fiber stakes. I think they're 6-inch stakes. They're just hollow stakes with a little metal tip on the end. They work really well. You need to make sure you buy extras, because if you're banging them into the ground with rocks, you'll break the stake or you might lose one. So just make sure you buy extras when you get that. And with the tarp, I started with end-only tie-outs, which is a piece of zinget on each end and Dutchware wasp on each end. During the hike, I realized that the end-only tie-outs were putting a little bit of stress on the end of my tarps, and it was causing it to fray a little bit. And so I got some information on a continuous ridgeline setup from a guy off Hammock forums, and his name's Burrow, and he's from the website thelongdistancehiker.com. But I used a continuous setup on my new tarp, and I'm continuing to use that, and it works really well. Also, a benefit of using the continuous ridgeline is if you have to set up on the ground, the continuous ridgeline is way easier to help get your tarp set up than when you're using end only. And that is all the hammock setup. And of course you guys are going to ask, what did all this hammock setup go in? What kind of backpack did you use? So I'm going to show you. This is a Gossamer Gear 2017 40 liter Gorilla, and as you can see here, it has a roll top on it. And don't go looking for a 2017 Gossamer Gear Gorilla with a roll top, because I made this one. It's one of two. The other one has already been trashed. This backpack, as you can see, has seen some better days. I really like this backpack. I've tried other backpacks, and this is the one that I tell people I dislike the least. And this backpack is pretty light. It's got these nice big pockets on the side, this big mesh pocket in the back, which I really like, except the elastic wears out. So you either have to get a new pack or get the bungee cord you put on that one. But this is the backpack that I use for most of my through hikes. I'm not going to go with another Gorilla when I get under the backpack. I've made pretty much a 20-minute long video explaining the pros and cons of this backpack. I'll link it down below. Okay, and a few notes on the setup I use if I had to go to ground. I know it's something that no one wants to do. But on the CDT, there are a few times that even if you are in areas that are hammockable, you may have to go to the ground. So some people carry like an inflatable pad or like a Neolite or something like that, one of the accordion pads. I actually didn't carry that for sleeping on the ground. I just looked for a bed of pine needles, and I used this pad in the back of my Gorilla. No, it's not comfortable. No, I don't recommend it, but that's what I did. I didn't want to carry an extra pad or anything like that. And also for laying on the ground that I was going to lay on, use a piece of polycro. It's a really light ground sheet. You can get it from Gossamer Gear or other places. It weighs like 1.5 ounces or something like that. It's just a little sheet that you can lay on you to keep the moisture on the ground from getting on your bag and things like that. And to the best of my ability, I used the pad for my backpack. I used my backpack under me. If I had any extra clothes, I'd put them under me just to keep me comfortable. It wasn't super comfortable. I got caught, I think, 2 or 3 nights up at elevation where there are no trees, and I just wound up finding a bunch of trees with a bed of pine needles, and that's how I slept on the ground. But if you want to make a CDT hammock setup, make sure that you're at least ready to go to the ground and have everything you need, any extra tie-outs or stakes or anything like that for your tarp. Last but not least, on this trail, I just wanted to give a few shout-outs to a few people and companies that were really good with helping me. To start out with the people, all the guys over at Hammock Forums. It's a forum that you can go and get all of your hammock camping questions answered. They're really good with helping you answer questions or problems or recommending things like that. And the next person is Burrow and Sweet Pea. They are a long-distance hiking couple. They run the website thelongdistancehiker.com. Burrow is pretty much the only one that would offer any advice when I wanted to hammock camp the PCT and also the CDT. So please go check out their website. I'll link it down below. Again, that's at longdistancehiker.com. Please go and subscribe to see the trail journals. They're really nice. He also has a large amount of information about hammock camping that you'll find really useful. And next we'll talk about the companies that were really beneficial with this setup and all of my through hiking. The first company is Dutchware Gear, and they're a company located in Pennsylvania, United States. They make great hammocks and all grades of other gear. On the AT, they helped me out replace a hammock, and on the CDT, they also helped me get an upgraded hammock, the half zip. And a really great company to work for. If you're looking for a hammock or any kind of hammock accessories, please go and check those guys out. And the second company, I know I've talked about, a lot of my gear came from them, is Hammock Gear. They're a company in Ohio. They make a lot of other cottage gear. It's really great. I've used their underquilts and top quilts and their tarp for all of my through hikes. It's all worked great. They're extremely great to work with, and they make some really nice stuff. And those are the companies that I really wanted to thank, that helped me out a lot this year. And also, if you guys are looking for any hammock accessories or anything like that, make sure and go and check out my Etsy store, 2-Speed Hammocks. I'll link that below. And if you have any questions on my hammock setup or anything that you think would have been better, please let me know below. Or any questions you have, I'll try to reply to them. And thanks for watching.